Live and streaming on 11 Alive Plus. We got some breaking news out of DeKalb County.
A person of interest is now in custody in last week's deadly shooting of a U.S. postal worker. The arrest comes just 24 hours after the U.S. Postal Service announced a $250,000.
Let me ask you something. Imagine you're just doing your job. You're not bothering anybody. You're not in the streets. You're not caught up in anything. You're just out here working, delivering mail to people's homes like you do every single day. And then, just like that, your life is taken from you. No warning, no reason, nothing. That's exactly what happened to Dequavious Graves. And honestly, this case has been sitting heavy on a lot of people because this man did everything right and still ended up losing his life in the most senseless way possible. Before we get into everything, if you're new here, welcome to Shadow Crime. Make sure you like this video, subscribe, and click that bell icon so you never miss a case, because we cover the stories that need to be told. Now let's get into it. Dequavious Graves was 31 years old. People who knew him called him Big Quay. And from everything that has come out about this man, he was just one of those people that you couldn't help but love. His mother, Shannon, described him as a mama's boy. And when she says that, you can hear in her voice that she doesn't just mean he was close to her. She means he was that kind of son that made you proud every single day. He had this energy about him that filled a room. His cousin Nahjel Andrews said that whenever Dequavious walked in somewhere, you noticed him. Not because he was loud or trying to be seen, but because of his smile, his presence, and the way he just made people feel good. And here's something that a lot of people might not know about him. Dequavious wasn't just a postal worker. He was also a music producer. He had a passion, a gift, and a whole creative side to him that his friends say was on another level. They called him an artistic genius. And that's not just people talking highly of someone because they're gone. That's people who actually knew him and experienced what he was capable of. He was a hard-working man who was building something for himself, and he was doing it the right way. He had been working with the United States Postal Service for about 3 years. By all accounts, he was dedicated to his job. His co-workers loved him, and when news of his death broke, the outpouring from the people he worked with was something that even his own mother wasn't fully prepared for. Shannon said she had no idea just how many lives her son had touched at that post office. She said it was like he ran the place, and hearing that had to be both heartbreaking and beautiful at the same time, knowing that her child had made that kind of impact on the people around him. This was a man with a life, with a future, with people who depended on him and loved him deeply.
And on 11 Alive and streaming on 11 Alive Plus, we got some breaking news out of DeKalb County.
A person of interest is now in custody in last week's deadly shooting of a U.S. postal worker. The arrest comes just 24 hours after the U.S. Postal Service announced a $250,000 reward for information in the murder of Dequavious Graves.
The 31-year-old had been with the Postal Service for 3 years. He was shot last Thursday night while on his route along Oxford Drive in Decatur. And just hours ago, folks, the FBI SWAT team surrounded a home on that very same road. This is in the Flat Shoals Acres subdivision off Flat Shoals Road.
That's where we find 11 Alive's Cody Alcorn tonight. He first reported on this deadly shooting for you last week and was the first reporter on the scene out there tonight as the FBI carried out this operation. Cody, what do we know here?
Well, Jennifer, Ron, FBI SWAT, DeKalb County Police, and U.S. Postal Inspection Service carried out a search warrant at this home right here behind me. Here around 7 o'clock on Oxford Drive. We got out here moments later as they were still working to clear this home. You heard that boom. I'm told this home is like a halfway house with multiple bedrooms inside. In fact, I've talked to some people who are returning to this house. They say they rent rooms in here, and there's about 10 of them inside. They really didn't know how many people were inside when the FBI showed up here, so they were extra cautious. Now, once the scene was cleared, SWAT backed out. That's when the U.S. Postal Inspection Service moved in to start processing the home. They were here looking for evidence. Now, it's unclear right now if they found anything directly tying the person of interest to the homicide on Thursday night. Now, as you mentioned, Dequavious Graves worked for the U.S. Postal Service for 3 years. He delivered mail in this neighborhood daily. And in fact, I've talked to several people in the neighborhood, and one lady shared this video with me tonight. It's from her Nest camera. You can see right there Graves delivering her mail. This was captured on Thursday night, Ron and Jennifer, just 10 minutes before he was killed. A few minutes later, just after 7 o'clock that night, you see first responders arriving in the neighborhood following the shooting. I spoke to this woman on camera, or off camera, I should say. She's still shaken up about the shooting, and especially now knowing this alleged killer lived just around the corner.
It's unfortunate, and it really hurt me because, you know, life is a life, and nobody has a right to take anybody's life. And, you know, I send my condolences to the family, the loved ones, the co-workers, friends. I'm just saddened that it had to happen.
Now, get this, just about an hour ago, the U.S. Postal Inspection Service confirmed the person of interest tied to this home was arrested in Atlanta earlier today by Atlanta police, tied to another homicide from 2024 on West Marietta Street. Now, right now, we are still working to confirm this suspect's name, but I can tell you he's 24 years old. So there are still a lot of dots to connect between this person of interest from this homicide and that murder suspect out of Atlanta tonight. Live in Decatur, Cody Alcorn, 11 Alive News.
Cody, certainly a lot going on, a lot of moving pieces with this, so thank you for keeping us updated. Hopefully this does bring that family some justice, multiple families apparently. Cody, thank you.
Now here is where things get really hard to process. February 12th, 2025. It was just another Wednesday. Dequavious was out on his route, doing what he did, delivering mail on Oxford Drive near Flat Shoals Road in Decatur, Georgia. It was around 7 in the evening, so the sun was going down, neighborhoods were getting quiet, and this man was just trying to finish his day and get home. That's all he was trying to do. And then shots were fired. Neighbors in the area said they heard the gunshots and had no idea what was happening at first. But what happened next is something that I think really puts into perspective just how tragic this whole situation was. Surveillance footage from a neighbor's camera captured the sound of those gunshots, and moments later, Dequavious's USPS mail truck was seen slowly drifting off the road. It didn't crash hard. It didn't speed away. It just quietly veered off Oxford Drive and came to a stop in the yard of a woman named Elizabeth Nace. Now think about that for a second. This man was shot while sitting in his mail truck, and the truck just rolled to a stop in someone's yard. Elizabeth Nace came outside and found him there, and she said something that really stuck with me. She said she thought maybe he had a stroke or a seizure because he was still alive and still breathing. He just couldn't speak. She had no idea he had been shot. She was just trying to figure out what was wrong with him. That detail right there tells you everything about how quiet and sudden this was. There was no big commotion. No chasse. Nothing. Someone walked up on this man while he was working and shot him, and then just disappeared into the night. Dequavious was rushed to Grady Memorial Hospital, but he did not survive his injuries. Now let's talk about the moment his mother Shannon got that phone call, because I want you to really sit with this. She said when the hospital called her, she thought her son had been in some kind of accident, so she rushed to that hospital thinking she was going to walk in there and see her child hurt but alive. And when she got there and they told her what had actually happened, she said she just lost it. She kept telling the staff that it wasn't real, that it had to be a dream, that there was no way her child was gone. She said, I kept telling them, this is a dream. Y'all telling me my child is dead. No way. There's no way. Can you imagine being in that position? You leave your house thinking you're going to see your son, and instead you're being told you'll never hear his voice again. That is a pain that no parent should ever have to carry, and Shannon Graves is now carrying that every single day.
Hey, thanks for sticking with us, streaming right here on 11 Alive Plus. Tonight, we are learning more about a person of interest in custody after a postal worker was shot and killed on the job in DeKalb County.
Yeah, so while the U.S. postal inspectors have not revealed the person of interest name, investigators say that he was taken into custody for an unrelated Atlanta homicide. 11 Alive's Molly Oak is trying to piece things together in this case. So, Molly, you actually spoke with the mom of the slain postal worker, Dequavious Graves. How is she feeling tonight?
Well, tonight, Ron, she says she's on the path to healing with the news that a person of interest is in custody. She says this is only helping and very anxious to hear more details. Now we're digging into those details and trying to connect some dots for you tonight. A person in custody, the person of interest in the deadly shooting of a postal worker in DeKalb County, was taken into custody yesterday by Atlanta police because investigators say he's charged in connection to a homicide there in August 2024. The Atlanta homicide happened on West Marietta Street. APD says they found 24-year-old Donato Bradford shot and killed, and that 24-year-old Nahjel Williams was taken into custody Tuesday for that crime and charged with murder, aggravated assault, and possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. 11 Alive dug into Williams' past and learned he has a criminal history in multiple counties and states, including aggravated battery and aggravated assault charges, along with an open warrant out of Maryland for failure to appear. Graves' mother also tells me that she's in the process of planning his funeral. She does not have a date set for that yet. Reporting live, Molly Oak, 11 Alive News.
Yeah, this is going to be really tough for the family, especially as they move forward and if it ends up going to trial.
Now, let's talk about what happened on the investigation side, because this is where things really start to pick up. DeKalb County Police and federal investigators got to work immediately. They pulled surveillance footage from cameras in the neighborhood and started piecing together what happened that evening on Oxford Drive. The U.S. Postal Inspection Service got involved, and they came in hard. They announced a reward of up to $250,000 for any information that could lead to an arrest and conviction in this case. $250,000. That tells you just how seriously federal authorities were taking this. And also tells you that they needed the community's help, because whoever did this was still out there. Days passed, and people were frustrated. His family was grieving. His community was shaken. And the question everybody was asking was the same one you're probably asking right now. Who would do this and why? Then on February 17th, just 5 days after the shooting, things moved fast. The FBI, the U.S. Postal Inspection Service, DeKalb County Police, and Atlanta Police all came together and surrounded a home on Oxford Drive, the very same street where Dequavious was killed. They tossed flashbangs at the property, and a person of interest was taken into custody in Atlanta. The suspect was identified as Nahjel Williams, 25 years old. Now here is where this case takes a turn that I really need you to pay attention to. Nahjel Williams was not just connected to the murder of Dequavious Graves. He was already wanted for a completely separate murder that took place back in 2024. Warrant alleged that on August 1st, 2024, Williams shot and killed a 24-year-old man named Donato Bradford on West Marietta Street NW in Atlanta. That shooting happened between 10 and 11 at night, and Williams had been walking around free ever since. He was charged with murder, aggravated assault, and possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony in connection with Bradford's death. And yet, he was still out here, still free. And now another family is burying someone they love. That is the part of this story that really makes you think. Because if Nahjel Williams had been off the streets after the Bradford murder in 2024, would Dequavious Graves still be alive today? That is a question that has no comfortable answer, and it is one that both families are probably sitting with right now. As of the latest reports, no official motive has been released for why Dequavious was targeted. Investigators are still working to determine whether he was killed because he was a postal worker or whether there was some other reason behind it. And that uncertainty makes this even harder to process, because his family doesn't even have the closure of knowing why. His cousin said it best. He said, just why? Why would somebody want to do that? He put himself on the back burner so I could reach my goal. And his friends summed up the loss in a way that has stayed with me since I first read it. They said the world was robbed of a great human, and they are absolutely right. Dequavious Graves was 31 years old. He was a son, a cousin, a friend, a co-worker, and a creative soul who was building something beautiful with his life. He was out here doing everything right, and it still wasn't enough to protect him. That is the painful reality of this case. So, let me leave you with this. What does it say about our society when a man can't even deliver mail without fearing for his life? What does it say that someone with an open murder warrant was still walking free long enough to allegedly take another life? And what does it say about how we value the lives of hardworking, everyday people who are just trying to make it? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think the system failed Dequavious Graves? Do you think justice will truly be served in this case? Drop your thoughts down below because this is a conversation that needs to happen. And if this video moved you the way this case moved me, please make sure you like this video, subscribe to Shadow Crime, and hit that bell icon so you're always notified when we drop a new case. We tell these stories because these people deserve to be remembered, and as long as we keep talking about them, they are never forgotten. Rest easy, Dequavious. You deserve better.